have like 250 member CSA. We grow for the Great Barrington Farmers Market, which is a very lucky to be there. It's a really great market. And then we do a little wholesaling to a few stores and restaurants.
I'm your host, Andy Chamberlain, and I take you behind the scenes with growers who share their strategy for achieving the triple bottom line of sustainability. These interviews unravel how they're building their business to balance success across people, profits, and our planet. Today's episode comes to you from the farm where CSA started, right here in the Northeast, in the town of Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Elizabeth Keene and her husband Al has been farming at Indian Line Farm in Great Barrington, Mass. For over 25 years. After taking a sabbatical in 2016, they had the realization that after 10 to 15 years of just running the farm, it was time that some things needed to change to make the farm more sustainable in their next phase of life. The upgrades to the farm included purchasing of a delivery van, a 30 by 96 hoop house, and replacing the 6-wire high tensile electric fence with an 8-foot deer fence to keep them out. Additionally, Elizabeth decided it was time to make some improvements to the post-harvest area of the farm. This podcast gives a tour of the barn upgrades, and the conversation is mostly led by my colleague Chris Callahan of the University of Vermont Extension. This story is also shared as a full post-harvest case study on our blog, so if you want to see photos or a video from this visit, make sure to see the blog post at go.uvm.edu/IndianLine. Now, let's turn back to Elizabeth because this is the Farmer's Share.
So I'm Elizabeth Keene from Indian Line Farm, and this is our 25th year here at this particular farm. And I got my start, we ended up here at this farm actually because someone died. Robin Van En, who is most people know her as one of the founders of community supported agriculture. And so this farm is the birthplace of CSA. I have minutes from meetings that they used to have in terms of when they made the name right in our living room. So we've been very honored to carry on that legacy. There was a period of when, well before Robin died, where the farm wasn't operational. So we didn't walk into a working farm. We actually had to start this from scratch. And initially we just did a few markets and has grown ever since. We have like 250 member CSA. We grow for the Great Barrington Farmers Market, which is a very lucky to be there. It's a really great market. And then we do a little wholesaling to a few stores and restaurants. And my entree into farming was really having worked with subsistence farmers in Guatemala and southern Mexico, and thought that I would go back to have a more technical skill. I was doing more like accompaniment work and very generalist kind of things, but thought that if I could have a more concrete skill, that I could go back to Central America and be more helpful in horticulture. They were really encouraging these populations to grow a little bit more than, corn and beans, and to expand their nutritional intake. But after being an apprentice at a local CSA, which is now no longer operational, I met my husband and realized I know nothing about farming or horticulture, and 6 months was not going to give me the amount of knowledge that I felt I needed in terms of going back to assist a population that had been essentially growing their entire lives. And my situation just changed. So we ended up here through the help of a couple like friends and family of Robin, and they really just encouraged us to try to rent the farm from her son. And it was through that process we also made connections with two local organizations, the Nature Conservancy and the Community Land Trust in the Southern Berkshires. And they really approached us and said, we want to see this farm a farm in perpetuity. So would you be interested in this model where you all bought the buildings and the improvements, and they essentially bought the land. So there's now a conservation restriction on the property, particularly because of the endangered species that are next door in the wetland. And then the land trust's contribution essentially was just helping pay for the land. So we have a 99-year lease, which is now taken off by like 20-something years. And, we can sell the farm, we can, we could lease the farm to someone else. But essentially the land will never be commodified again. It will be, the purchase price will be very much just related to the investments that Al and I have made here.
Great story.
Yeah, it is a fun story. It's great. It is, yeah.
Is it helpful to look back on that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do have enough, several times a year I get asked the question, so it's very fresh in my mind, so to speak. And I do like it. It's a very non-traditional path, I think, in terms of how some people ended up into farming. I had no farming experience, no horticultural experience, no biology, no anything. I was a political science history major, and I came at this one partly with the idea of essentially like interest in community organizing and working and bringing people together. And then I realized I really love hard work. I really love being outside. I didn't want to go back to working in an office, having worked with Amnesty International for a year. And we immediately fell in love with this place. So I do like telling the story.
That's great.
So roughly how many acres are you growing on? What do you grow?
Right. So we grow about intensively on about 5 acres. And then the farm is surveyed at about 20 acres. And so there's some wetland areas in there, and then of course the homestead area. And our sort of rule of thumb is that we grow veggies for 2 years, and then we have a year off.
And that year off is cover cropped?
Yeah, the year off is a sequence of fall planted rye, vetch, and then some shallow in the summer, and then planted back to oats and peas, and then we would plant on that the following spring. Initially, this was the entrance to the barn downstairs. It was really like the only real, it was the downstairs entrance to the barn. And when we walked in, this, first of all, the barn was about 2 feet.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, you can see the line.
Standard 7-foot barn.
Exactly. So my husband, who's 6'5", would often, and then sometimes like some of the light fixtures were actually just hanging down. So I have had some folks hit their head on light bulbs, which was horrible.
Yeah.
So we used to wash all the vegetables essentially from this area to about right here. And then we had some like storage over here. So because this was an old dairy barn, there were long troughs that ran through, and we actually cemented all of those in except about right here. And so we put our own drains in that, so there were 2 drains, and then they connected there, and then it went out, and we have a pipe that then kind of just daylights outside. Yeah, it was rudimentary. I mean, we had a spray table, 2 dunking tubs, all of our bins were stored over there, and there were also, there was a wall here.
Yeah.
There was like a little wall and like a big clump of cement that we had to walk over. And then it was essentially open from here. But where now there are 3 posts along the expanse, there used to be 4.
Okay.
So we were always navigating the entire barn with 4 posts in the line where there are now 3. And again, we made this work for a really long time, and every time we started thinking about how to make the barn better, we just kept coming up against the height. Yeah. And how do we re-cement? We did re-cement the floor once when we initially got here, just to smooth it out, and there was chunky and things, but it just was like beating your head against the wall. Like, how do we actually make this work and to really make an improvement? And it was hard, and so we just didn't do it. It was just like the last project on the farm that we tried to address. And then with the and I just in terms of who I am, like I'm a little bit thrifty. And so there were, I, have 2 children, one's 18, one's 15. We went like a good 10 years where we really were just like running the farm.
Yeah.
And it, really thinking about these larger investments was like just kind of beyond me. And, but I took a sabbatical in 2016. And when I came back, I realized if I'm going to keep doing this for the next 15 or 20 years, I have to make some serious improvements because 1, I want the farm to be amazing when I want to sell it. And 2, I want the last number of years I want them to be easier.
Yeah.
So some things, we actually put an 8-foot deer fence up during COVID. That was one of, the deer are horrible here. And our 6-wire high tensile electric fence just was not cutting it anymore.
Wow.
So that we did that ourselves. And then I bought a van with some of that PPP money. We've just been using a pickup truck. We put up a third hoop house, 30 by 96 hoop house. So anyway, some of that was with grant funding. Some of it was just like, we got to do this. And certainly COVID helped financially in lots of capacities.
Can you say a little bit more about the 2016 sabbatical? That sounds like an amazing idea that I haven't heard many other people do.
Yeah, no, I know. I've only known one other person to do it. So because of my experience in Central America, and I had always said that I would do it. Like it was just in my brain, I will do this. And I think I thought about it doing it at 10 years and then 20 years. I don't know. It just, I realized it wasn't happening. And we all get burned out. Yeah. And so, about 2014, I was like, I just started really saying it out loud. How can I make this work? And I really was hoping that I would have had an employee who would be willing to take it on for a year. In the end, I said, you know what? I'm just shutting down. And we were going to rent out our house. We were going to just, draw from some savings. And in the end, my husband, who does not have the same Central American experience that I had, he decided he didn't want to go. And so that was like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work?
Was the plan to go to Central America for a year?
That's
okay.
what, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I wanted to be open to where he also might be interested in going because he didn't have that. But I realized I was really tied to going there. So when we essentially kind of made I have lots of connections in there, so we ended up going to an indigenous village, and I was a middle school English teacher. My kids went to school. This is like no running water, no lots of stuff. And it was amazing. But because he ended up not going, we didn't rent out our house, but he tore down a mobile home that was sitting between our house and the neighbor's house, which had essentially been some of our apprentice housing. And he built like a cottage that now we rent out. So it worked out. Yeah. And for me, it was super hard to tell my community I'm not going to grow anymore, but I realized, who cares? Like,
it's a year.
It's 1 year.
Yeah.
And, it's not like I'm serving a community that can't buy their food somewhere else. Really, that's what it came down to for me. I realized I'm going to be letting myself down if I don't do this. It was just like this. I just knew I needed a year of not working so intensely, and it's just something completely different.
And for you, it sounds like there's a clear line, pardon the pun, line between Indian line before that and Indian line after that. You've made some pretty significant changes.
Definitely thinking, yes. It just kind of like opened my eyes up to, this is where I want to be. Like I couldn't really see where I wanted to be. And again, because there's this super thrifty nature, Al and I's we called it, it's like through the holistic resource management thing, we had this four sentence phrase of our goals were to bring the land to bear, laugh, pay off the debt, and eat responsibly. So the thing about going into debt was like, oh my gosh, why could we, how could we afford this or how can we afford that? But we're so anyway, it's fine. We figured it out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an important message.
Yeah.
For lots of people. I don't know. I'm especially the past 2 years. I think that will really resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
That you can take a break and make it work.
Yeah. And we, in the end, it worked out that he worked on the farm 3 days a week. And then, he worked on the farm 2 days a week, and then he has his own surveying and engineering business. Just he's a sole, it's essentially just him. But so then he started working full time, and then he worked on this project, and he had a ball. Like my husband was like so happy building this thing, and even though it was, it was hard, obviously, to be apart, we knew it was temporary.
Yeah,
right. It was anyway.
Well, that's a great. Thank you for sharing.
So was the farm still running that year?
No, it completely took off. So I had a coworker who was local. He kind of managed like the cover crops. Like we essentially tried to cover crop as the whole thing.
Good opportunity to rest everything.
And then I was, just the way the timing worked, I ended up coming back, in July, and then, had the whole, that end of summer, fall to just kind of be here. And I ended up doing some catering jobs. I was doing stuff, but to not have the pressure really just allowed my brain to open up and think about.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so one thing that came out of that was a renewed commitment to wash pack barn renovation.
Yes,
All right.
exactly. Yeah. And just some capitalizing that's going to make this farm a little bit more productive, efficient, and sustainable.
And was part of that also thinking about, I think you alluded to this before, thinking about what's it like for Elizabeth and Al to run this 10 years from now?
Yeah,
So, walk us through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the bonus, like that we got this out of the project. So, the first thing they did was tear down the ceiling, but it meant that we had to clear out an entire 20 years worth of stuff upstairs. Yeah. So it was, I found a very generous neighbor who had an open barn. So we moved all that. We got rid of a ton of stuff. We had, we essentially put a bunch of stuff out in the front, and people took stuff, and it was great. I put the word out, and people came and got stuff, which was terrific.
Good scrap rates.
Yes,
right now too.
I know. And so the main thrust of this, of course, is the building of this structure in here.
Wall.
So the thing, so we essentially divided the barn into thirds, and we had these other convoluted plans, and the builder actually had those plans, and then I walked out here one day and I realized I actually taped it off, like what it was going to look like, and I realized we'd made a mistake. Like I was like, this is not going to work, because we'd actually put the cooler over like a square out of the CSA room. We'd actually put a wall. We wanted to have a lesser of a heated space, and so there was actually going to be a wall here, and then we were going to have these 8-foot doors in here. And I realized that is so stupid. Why would I do that? Let's just make use the posts kind of as barriers and walls. And we built a bathroom. We now have a farm bathroom, which is amazing. It's there's one little thing that has to be hooked up at the septic pump down there, so it's not quite on. And then we did have to, like the concession, I think, which wasn't really a concession, and that is that we put the cooler over here. And which, in thinking about the flow, it was like, But anyway, that's what we had to do.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So we got this nice big
That's a great
cooler.
Wow.
This was our old cooler.
I hope those hinges hold up, though. My goodness.
Yeah.
It's like bank vault hinges.
Yeah, right. So it's actually not on yet, but we're about to epoxy the floor, and we had to insulate it because, I don't know, no one, how projects are. No one said you should absolutely make sure that the floor is level. So it was not quite level. And because we had thought it was going to be over there, we sort of forgot when it got moved to insulate the floor.
Oh.
So anyway, that's an oversight. But Yeah.
So this is all new within the past 9 months?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this just went in September. Yeah, I mean, there's still, the electrician still has to come back and do one thing. I can just show you what our...
This is, I mean, one thing that I'm just picking up on here is
Yeah.
this is a really nice wide door.
It is a nice wide, yes. I was really, we wanted to be able to use a pallet jack and move it in there. And again, it's not, I've never used a pallet jack, but I'm
Fun.
I thought I should be able to have a door that was pallet jack worthy. So that's why we made it wide. We do have those Hanoi reels. So
Oh, Hene, yeah.
yeah, Hene, yeah. So we bought 2 of those used. So they're waiting
cool.
to be put up.
Post reels, yeah.
They will be put on the ceiling. The other thing that we're getting rid of these concrete blocks for some. I noticed Uline has a stand that seemed very familiar to a stand that I saw someone else have in a video I saw.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did they get that stand? And then I saw it.
From Uline, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's good to know. We didn't know that, did we?
No, the couple farms that I do know had them custom welded.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed...
So if you found one that'll work,
Yes, well,
by
so
all
in
means.
it, I mean, the weight capacity was like over 1,000 pounds.
Oh,
I'm
great.
like, well, that'll work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, just for cleaning purposes and all that. I wanted to get rid of those blocks.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in that case study video, but the other nice thing about those stands is with that weight limit, pallet jack underneath them if you need to move.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
so-
Yes.
And
yeah.
also for drying, you know, you can
Right.
like kind of same as what you have going on
Yeah.
here with the blocks. But. So one nice thing is wide open space,
It is.
central drain. You've got flexibility for layout, and
Yes.
you know, one thought that comes to mind is there a flow sort of from the door, everything gets sort of landed, and is there a possibility of, you know, certainly barrel wash or greens or spray kind of coming in this direction to then go in the cooler?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know
like,
about the
like a drop off.
yeah.
So can I just say something? We've never had the barrel washer inside. It's never been inside. It has always been right outside, right
wow.
here. There used to be years ago, there used to be here, like I don't know what they did. They had something here, and it was dirt, and then they had this concrete pad for whatever reason. So anyway, we had to take that down. It wasn't safe. So, but we've literally only ever used the barrel washer right there.
Great. Yeah.
So, my thought is that we might actually, I don't know.
You could drag it out and use it there
Yes,
if the day
right,
is nice.
Right. Yeah, right. And then in the wintertime, if we have never washed veggies in the middle of the winter. So all of my roots get washed and stored in
Yep.
40-pound bags.
Yep.
And I've never really had a problem with rotting or anything. So for me to have the option to harvest more and then wash later.
Yeah, so that's kind of a game changer just in terms of
Yes. I mean, to be
moving
as far
stuff.
away from like where the
Yeah.
vegetables need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. This used to be a whole root cellar. Like this,
Yep.
there was a wall all the way, like it was a big enclosed area
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they had built long before we got here. And then the easiest thing for us to do was just to put a cooler in this insulated kind of area.
So this will remain unheated.
Yes, right.
This central wash pack area, you have the heat pump for heat.
Yeah, so
That's a nice looking.
it's a
heat
very
pump.
nice one. I
Wow.
mean, we literally, in our plan, it was just like a small propane heater, or, you know, and they were, so the builder was kind of insistent that we do electric because of the solar panels, so that somehow we could net zero that way. But I'm like, that is a nicer heater than I have in my house. But it's been great. I mean, all winter long, I would just come out here an hour before. I turned it on this morning just for a bit, and washing veggies this winter was so amazing.
Oh, so that's right. So you've had a winter in here.
Yeah, so we did. We washed. We have 3 greenhouses that were full of greens.
So greens all winter. And is this the first? It's not the first winter you've done that, but the first.
It's not first. But it's the first winter that we did as much as we did, and
Yeah.
it was the first winter where it was fun.
Yeah.
And
the
I
most
didn't have to
important
be
part.
so strategic about the day. you know,
Yeah.
because as
Yeah.
long as I could harvest them, it didn't really matter what the temperature was outside.
And are you doing anything to sort of temper the water that you use, or?
Yeah, so this, again, I sort of feel like it was like over all done, but this is a hot water heater that we can
Yeah.
turn the hot water on. I mean, I've never done that before, but I've heard that it's good to warm it up. I mean, one just for personal
Yeah.
comfort,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so one of the things we bought new casters for these so that they
Yeah.
wouldn't roll. So we just did that, and then
Do they tend to walk? Have you found
they
these?
definitely
Yeah.
walk. In fact, I'm not even super psyched with how they're. I mean, again, if there's any slope whatsoever, so like having it right here, it just wants to walk that way. If it's completely, I think, level, it doesn't walk.
I'm wondering if a
Even-
triangle of just 2x4 triangle that is sized just for those to fit in.
Yeah. Okay.
So there'd be an initial lift into that,
Yeah.
but you might even be able to make it in such a way that you know, when these are
Unlocked.
unlocked,
You could just slide. You could
it's above, yeah. So with these down, it'll just clear this, but with them up, it can sit on there and roll with it.
Okay. Ooh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the barrel washer, we know that we could get casters for it.
Totally, yeah. Are you imagining that you will still wash before storage root crops, or are you gonna?
I mean, I would imagine I might do that this year again, but then, you know, maybe in future years that I wouldn't. And then I guess in the wintertime, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'll just put it right over the drain.
Yeah, yeah. But having, I think, casters with an option to get it against the wall will definitely make this a much
Right.
more comfortable path.
Yeah.
The other thing to possibly consider is seeing about getting a tray.
We have it.
You do.
Yeah. Like this, right?
So for feeding, yes, but also for collecting water.
Oh, okay.
So if you collect the water and send it to a single drain, it's going to make your
Yes. Okay.
your floor clean up a lot
Okay.
a lot better. It makes this cleanup a little bit more
Yeah.
involved, but
Do you have pictures of any of that?
yeah, I would
like
think
that?
Jericho Settlers is a good example of that. But in my mind, I'm imagining heavier soil root washer crops coming this way.
Okay.
You know, sort of mid-level soil crops going to the spray table somewhere over here.
Okay.
And greens kind of having the shortest path to the cooler, sort of uphill.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I know one of the things that I have been thinking about, and that is, saw a lot of folks having, you know, different places for clean bins, different bins for dirty bins, and then different bins for different purposes. And so maybe after I see your little map, I mean,
Yeah, you got it.
yeah, I mean, those just,
Yeah.
yeah. But I know also with food safety, they're not supposed to be on the ground,
Uh-huh.
which I'm not that great about. I'm horrible about it because the floors, yeah, anyway.
So what a lot of people do
Yeah.
is just take one sacrificial bin upside down
down.
and then stack the others on.
Okay.
Or even just one like this.
Right.
And this one is never used.
Okay.
It just receives the next one. And
Yeah.
also,
okay, yeah.
you're getting into pallet mode.
Right.
So, you know, you can get some pallets that just stay in here just for that purpose.
Right.
Just for putting bins on.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the good news is you've got an amazing dance floor here.
Yes,
So,
right.
you know, you can really do a lot with this.
Yes.
And you can experiment because nothing's tied down.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, one of the things. So we of course use a ton of 5-gallon buckets to harvest tomatoes and peppers and eggplants and all that kind of stuff. And one, I haven't quite figured out where I should store those, or if I should just keep them outside. That's sort of what I'm thinking.
What's your appetite for more concrete?
I have no problem with more concrete.
Well, I'm wondering if you might find some good value in a concrete apron out here.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
maybe a shed roof.
Yes.
Open, but
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
And that becomes a hugely useful space. Again, mid-season, barrel washer could be out there.
Right. Yeah.
Any of your harvest bins could be stored out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we noticed that, again, you know, you do one thing and then you
Yeah,
find
right,
another
of
problem
course.
in one, and that is the drainage. Like in this winter, it was not.
Oh, right up against
Yeah, it was
it, yeah.
coming up right up, yeah. If not in. So we did, the engineer who engineered this whole thing, he's like, if you don't put a drain outside, I'm not going to do this for you. So we did put a drain.
Along that wall.
Sorry, a gutter. We put a gutter, and that alone was the first time we've never seen water in the barn.
Speaking of which, rough dimensions of so the cooler is roughly...
The cooler is like 13 by 13.
Okay.
Yep.
And you've got maybe another 13 by 20 of space here?
Yeah, so the barn is, it's 30 feet wide.
Okay.
And so if that's 13, it's...
Yeah. And the main wash pack room then is 30 by...
Yeah, it's 30 by 60. Wait, if each of these, I think each of these are about 13 feet actually, 13 or 14 feet between posts.
Okay, so...
Is that right? So
30 by 30.
it's almost a square.
Yeah. 30 by 30. You got a bathroom which is maybe
I think it's
8
like
by
8 by 8.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the ceilings are now 8?
Yes.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah.
And that one, is that taller?
Well, this one has insulation
Okay,
and all that
yeah.
stuff. So yeah.
And CSA, this is
Room.
what you call a CSA room?
Yes,
And
yeah.
so this is again maybe 30 by 30?
Yep.
Okay. And how's that feel?
It feels amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're still. It's interesting. So we inherited all these tables. We've never done any table improvement at all.
These are the original CSA tables?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This
Yeah.
this has been here since we got here. All the sawhorses were
Those sawhorses
here.
are
Now they look
amazing.
all antique on the
Right.
new floor.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all of a sudden, and because it's so light in here, I feel
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you can see everything. So yeah, we're. I mean, the flow that we've had last year was people came in, sign in, and then they did a little loop around the room and out.
Cool.
I've been reluctant. I mean, I feel like other CSA's rooms that I've seen, like they really push stuff up against the wall, but then backstock is under the table. We've always had backstock behind
Yeah.
the table, and then so that my barn folks can do the work from behind. But again, this space is huge. It's lots of flexibility, and we're in the process of going to make chalkboards up on the walls.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but the lighting and the height, it's been night and day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, I would be remiss in, not being clear. I'll tell you how much the cost. So the state actually gave us $219,000. And then the project cost, we did the final total, about 260, 240. I can look that up.
Yeah.
Actually, and give you an exact number.
And what's in that? That's...
So that, what we paid for, so it's all cement, I mean, everything. I mean, it's the new floor, all the demo, the new ceiling, all the insulation, all of the septic work, like we had to put a new septic line in, the bathroom,
heat pump,
outside work.
cooler.
It's everything.
It's really everything. And then you mentioned solar. Do you have solar? Not on the roof here,
solar
is it?
is upstairs. That was from 2008.
Okay, that was pre-existing. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
This is might be the best wash pack barn CSA room setup I've seen.
Certainly dairy barn renovation.
For sure.
Yeah, this is next
Without-
level, Elizabeth. This is
Without
really
building
beautiful.
a completely whole new structure,
Right.
working within a barn.
Well,
this
and,
is
and
insane.
actually, when we put the bid in, that's what we did. Is we put a bid in, and maybe we told you that because that's one
For
of the
new
reasons why we were
construction?
talking to you.
I do
Is like
remember that,
we're going to
yeah.
build a 20 by 40 out there.
Yeah.
And then it was actually Al's dad, who's an architecture. He was like, "Why are you doing that? You already have
Here's
a
the barn we
building."
got.
And it just was so overwhelming to think about the jackhammering of the floor because that's the only that's the only thing we could see. And then another builder came and he's like, "You know what? Let's look at this. What would happen if you just got rid
for
of the
260,
ceiling?"
man, I wouldn't think you could build something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with all these features for that.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So that process, the thought process of, because everybody runs into this. Build new, how big, renovate what I have. Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah.
Those
What?
gymnastics?
Yeah.
And the different opinions and the,
Right. So,
management.
I mean, honestly, and maybe if we had done more consultation with some other folks, we might have come to the conclusion that we could have really used this space without building a new building. But we knew that we couldn't dig down. Like that was pretty clear because of the foundation of the building and losing integrity. So that's where we went to the outside building. And it wouldn't have been an elaborate, we still would have had to put a bathroom inside. So that was part of the plan, was the bathroom inside and the cooler was inside, but the wash and packing was outside.
So you would have had a bathroom in this existing
We
building.
would have tried and...
Yeah. And then moving between two buildings.
Yes.
And the idea of the new building was not to be connected to this.
Well, it would have been, let's see. Gosh, now it seems like so long ago.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. We're not ridiculously stupid, so there must have been some flow. And maybe actually the cooler was outside. Again, we would have made it work, and it would have been definitely better.
What was the state funding had to have helped make the decision?
Oh, absolutely.
And what was the source of that? Is that MDOT?
So no, the Farm Security Infrastructure Grant. So that was mainly, I think those are mainly federal monies.
Great. Wow.
That were funneled through, like maybe the CARES money, some of it. That Massachusetts dedicated it to ag and food businesses.
And
so much money. It was like $56 million.
Yeah. And are you part of Mass Certified Quality?
We're not. So we're still under the threshold.
Yep. Okay.
We're hitting that threshold very quickly.
Yeah.
But I had Kate Bailey come out
Yep.
several years ago, and so she really helped me think about some things that I wasn't thinking about. So we haven't had to do that yet.
Yeah.
So I'll just show you. So this is a farm break room that we have that has.
So this
been
probably
in
is
various...
where the bulk tank was, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then this, we used to just have it was like maybe a 5-step entrance into the barn right here.
Yep.
And so because we elevated the ceiling, we had to build.
Yep. But now you have a
Staircase.
nice cover for the heat pump
Yes.
equipment.
There's no storage other places on the farm, so we end up storing stuff,
But-
of course, up here, which is terrific.
Love the racking, though.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, Craigslist.
This is a huge barn.
It is huge.
So what would you say are your favorite things about the project? What?
I think just the rolling of everything down there.
Yeah.
Like we're in the process of getting a couple other sort of U-boats
Yeah.
rolling, even up here, just being able to roll stuff from here.
This is new too, right?
Totally
It was
new.
all.
It was all.
Yeah.
There was a staircase. We had to walk up 3 stairs to get out the barn. So being able to roll, heavier stuff back and forth using a dolly, that's been amazing. Yeah, the whole idea of just the ease of movement of materials.
Yeah.
Even just, whether we keep doing this, but, unloading the veggies out of the truck, being able to put them, several bins on a dolly and then roll them rather than everyone carry 1 bin at a time. Yeah, the ease of movement has been amazing. The lighting, we were literally working in the dark.
Yeah.
That's what it felt
Yeah.
like. So being able to just feel like, oh gosh, this is what a clean space feels like, because you can get all the nooks and crannies and clean it. And then I would say, again, I'm just doing a lot more, just really boosting my winter sales, and that's just been increasing every year, and being able to be a little bit warm
Yeah.
in the washing in the winter was stellar.
You've mentioned several times just, frankly, the space and the light.
Yeah.
Like having some room and having some light.
Right.
Yeah. And is there anything that anything you'd avoid in doing it next time, or anything you wish you did differently?
One, I wish we had insulated the cooler underneath.
Where it
If
is.
we just
yeah.
remembered to do that.
So, quick aside on that, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Okay.
And in my opinion,
the soil under that cooler is going to stay probably 45 to 50 degrees, even in the winter, where it is, and that's going to be freeze protection.
Yeah, right.
So I have seen coolers actually freeze up because they were insulated slabs,
Okay.
especially in bank barns.
Okay. Well, there you
Because
go.
the cold air comes in and water falls down. So
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's just fine.
Perfect. Great.
You can tell me I'm wrong later.
Okay,
But-
great. Let's see, any other, I mean, it was the worst drag in the world to do it in the middle of the summer.
Yeah. Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had a circus tent set up out there that was for
Yeah.
CSA pickup, so
Yeah.
that was under that. And then all the washing and packing happened under a 20 by 20 tent under that cement block that I told you outside. And we had to dig trenches, so the water could leave.
Yep. Yep.
It felt horribly unsafe. It's like, I'm so surprised no one sprained an ankle.
Yeah.
And it was so rainy last year that in addition to just wash water, it was just dealing with rainwater.
Yep. Yep. Do you anticipate or have you seen any labor savings or other cost savings as a result of the project?
Yeah, I think I definitely will this year. I mean, again, we didn't really start using it until September,
Right.
but immediately when we moved the CSA in September, just rolling, being able to put 6 bins on a U-boat and carrying them into CSA room was like, this is amazing.
And you've alluded, I think, to your potential for more winter sales, kind of as a result of having a place to.
Exactly,
work in,
and the easy access in and out of the cooler, even with just a few things, because we just, there wasn't, even though it was cement, the floor was not smooth. So it was really hard to use and put a lot of stuff on any wheel.
So sort of a self-serving question.
Yeah.
What was your experience working with UVM Extension and other technical service providers?
Yes.
And how'd that all go? I mean,
Great. Well, so I feel like when we had that video chat with you all whenever that was, that Al and I, it was like almost premature. I mean, it was great because you guys really gave us, you were looking at the farm having never seen it and had us really think about stuff. And so I realized that we were so at the early stages and everything was all unsure in terms of how we could utilize that service. But that particular meeting, it did give us a lot of food for thought. I have thoroughly enjoyed all those scrub workshops, and then I've watched every single one of the 8-part series on washing and packing. That was just really amazing. And so, I can't say enough.
That's
about
great. Thank you.
working with both of
And
you.
that's just great to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm excited for you all. This
Yeah.
is an amazing
Thank
setup you
you.
have,
Thank
and
you.
I think really above and beyond what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
So
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
yeah.
I'll tell
And
my builder.
Yeah, and I'll shoot you an email with a sketch tonight about what I was thinking
Yeah.
in terms
Okay.
of the flow.
Great. I mean, no rush.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Looks great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Incredible.
This podcast is supported by the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association and the Ag Engineering Program of the University of Vermont Extension. If you want to see videos, photos, or any relevant notes from this episode or others, check out the website thefarmersshare.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram as well so you don't miss any content. Thanks for listening.